Hat? Yeah, I should probably go get a hat. The United States is a representative republic that integrates the principles of federalism and separation of powers. It's like a high-end clock that has a lot of different pieces and parts that work together to keep things in time. And the drive system of America's clock is a pendulum. It swings back and forth, left to right, keeping everything in balance with time. If you take that pendulum and you push it too far to one direction, you best be sure that it's going to swing right back and crack you in the nose when you let go of it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly what is about to go down at the Supreme Court. I am pleased to say that this is exactly what I was hoping was going to happen with the situation out of the Fifth Circuit dealing with the frame and receivers rule. And the government has made a serious error here, such to the point where not only are we in a good position to roll back the last several years of government overreach, but I think we stand poised to obliterate decades of Second Amendment infringements in this country. And in today's video, I'm going to explain exactly what's going down. But first, we got to hear a word from today's sponsor. Kentuckiana Gunworks is best known for their research and development into lubrication technology. Their enhanced reliability oil is the product that I choose to use to keep my stuff running year-round, and they've also recently released their minimalist, quick-released sling retainers. KGW offers VSO subscribers a discount, and you can find that information over at the affiliates page. Special thanks to them for making today's video possible. In an effort to shore up Walter's 2024 re-election bid, the anti-Second Amendment zealotry has put themselves in a situation of winner-take-all. We're talking about the frame and receivers rule out of the Fifth Circuit, and I've got dedicated videos on what happened at both the district court and the appellate court levels. Basically, a really quick recap is at the district court, the court said, hey, ATF, you're losing big on this one, and they vacated the rule, which essentially means that they just deleted it from existence. It no longer functions whatsoever. They appealed that to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, and the Court of Appeals basically said, hey, on the stuff they challenged you on, not stay in that decision. We'll hear what you have to say, but yeah, you're probably not going to win this one. The ATF has now thrown a temper tantrum and gone up to the Supreme Court saying that they need to stay the decision, and in the process, if they don't decide to stay the decision, that they need to grant them cert rapidly. And we'll get into exactly what they said, but the correct move, now that they've gone ahead and fallen for the trap, the correct move on their part would have been to get a differing decision from a different appellant court that would have drawn into question the validity of the Fifth Circuit's decision. And that would have split the decision and kicked the can down the road, but they've decided to try and go for the kill here and go for the Supreme Court, except for it seems to me that the attorneys that are working for our enemies here are either completely inept at their job or they're part of Operation Chaos, and I cannot figure out which side they're on. If you told me that they were taking a fall on this one, it would make a lot more sense to me than the arguments that they are trying to make. This case concerns a district court's nationwide vacatur of a regulation issued by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives to respond to an urgent public safety and law enforcement crisis posed by the exponential rise of untraceable firearms, commonly called ghost guns. Pretty hyperbolic there. They're not commonly referred to as ghost guns. That is a term that y'all just made up because it sounded scary. They go on for several pages to bitch, moan, whine, and complain about why it was mean for the district court to just throw the rule out because it was unconstitutional. And then they go on to complain about the appellate court. The Fifth Circuit stayed the district court's vacatur to the extent it applied to portions of the rule that the respondents had not challenged and that the district court had not even purported to find unlawful. But the Fifth Circuit declined to stay the vacatur for the two challenged provisions. In doing so, it offered no analysis of the merits, no defense of the district court's universal remedy, and no meaningful discussion of the equities. Remember that thing I said about either being inept or throwing the case? Right there. The reason that they didn't give you any of those things that you are complaining about is because they haven't yet heard the case. They just said, from looking at the stuff from the previous court, yeah, looks like based on all of these facts, without hearing any arguments, you're going to lose. So no, we're not going to stay the decision. We're going to stay where we're at. The district court's universal vacatur is irreparably harming the public and the government by reopening the floodgates to the tide of untraceable ghost guns flowing into our nation's communities. Stop. Actually, no, that's exactly the opposite of what the Fifth Circuit said. The Fifth Circuit said that they are maintaining the status quo that has existed for the last 60 years, since the passage of the Gun Control Act of 1968. And I pulled that from my brain because it's stuck in there pretty well. I'll have the things up on screen to show you how close I got to exactly what they said. But given the gravity, never start a sentence with but. But given the gravity and urgency of the public safety issues at stake, if the court is not prepared to grant a stay, it may wish to construe this application as a petition for writ of certiorari before judgment. Grant the petition and set the case for arguments this fall. Translation for those of us who actually speak English: Supreme Court, you need to get in line. You need to stay this decision pronto, because we're supposed to be the experts here, and we're supposed to run this place. Even though, as evidenced by this document, we're incapable of formulating a standard grammatical sentence, let alone understanding the intricacies of this subject matter, that's beside the point. You need to stay this decision right now, because we need to be not adversely affected in the next election cycle by the loss that this is going to implode on us. And if you don't decide that you want to stay this decision, then you need to jump the line and put us on your next argument session because we said so. You guys have all seen that meme where it's like, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. It's like everybody in the room is saying that right now while they're reading this, and this person is just going on an absolute tirade trying to tell the Supreme Court how to do their job. How do you think that's going to go down? The Supreme Court is its own autonomous pillar of government. That's one of the strengths of our system of government. The legislature has their responsibilities, the executive has their responsibilities, and the Supreme Court's responsibility in this case is to check to make sure that you guys did your work within the confines of the Constitution. And what the courts have said up to this point is that you didn't do that. So do you think that it's going to go any better for you once you get there? Not looking so good. Just as a bicycle is still a bicycle, even if it was sold without pedals, a frame or receiver is still a frame or receiver, even if the buyer must drill a few holes or remove some plastic tabs before attaching other parts of the firearm. What this person just said is factually accurate. It is indeed a bicycle if it doesn't have pedals on it. Bicycles are sold all of the time without pedals on it. In fact, the default position if you buy a real bicycle from a real bicycle shop is that they come without pedal kits on them, and you have to attach a pedal kit with them. You might do this if you're doing a high-end road bike or something like that. You're going to have a custom job on your pedal kit. Or I have nephews and nieces, and yes, their bicycles these days come without pedal kits on them, and you add them after the fact. That is a functional bicycle directly from the store. What you are equating to a receiver is not equivalent whatsoever. An 80% receiver or an 80% frame is equivalent to me showing up with a bunch of 1-inch tubing and saying, here, make me a bicycle. So this person, again, is either so dumb that they don't understand that intricacy, or they are purposefully throwing this case. And again, at this point in time, I really cannot tell which way up or down is on that decision. I would like to know what you guys think about that in the comments section down below. And while you're down there, please interact with the other buttons that are down there. It definitely helps spread the message around. Please share this video with those that need to see it, because I'm going to tell you, there is no way that the powers that be are going to let this one out of the bag, because the government really fell for the trap on this one, and I cannot wait to see what happens. And we'll have updates for you as they happen. probably in a couple weeks. The last time one of these things went up to the Supreme Court for review in this manner, it took about 3 weeks for them to respond. So stay tuned to the VSO Gun Channel, and hopefully we'll have an update for you in relative short order.